Patricia Ann Strategius, known to the world as Trish Stratus, was born on December 18, 1975, in the Greater Toronto area of Canada, into a Greek-Canadian household where the values of discipline, family, and resilience were emphasized from the very beginning, shaping the woman who would eventually become a global wrestling icon, fitness pioneer, and entrepreneur. Growing up, Trish pursued academic excellence and initially dreamed of becoming a doctor, enrolling in studies that reflected her passion for science and health. Yet, when a faculty strike disrupted her university plans, she turned her focus toward fitness, which had long been a personal passion. This unexpected turn set her on a new path, one defined by adaptability and determination. For Trish, these early challenges were not setbacks, but opportunities that forced her to redefine her goals and discover new strengths. Her upbringing in a multicultural, hard-working environment instilled in her the belief that obstacles could be transformed into opportunities, a philosophy that would guide her throughout her career and personal life. Discovering fitness and modeling. With her academic goals on pause, Trish leaned into fitness, discovering not just a hobby but a discipline that allowed her to express her dedication, focus, and natural athleticism. She trained with intensity, immersing herself in weightlifting, nutrition, and the science of physical conditioning. This commitment soon drew attention from fitness publications, and her striking combination of strength and poise earned her features on magazine covers, where she quickly became one of the most recognizable faces in the industry. Unlike traditional modeling, the fitness space celebrated discipline and power, values that deeply aligned with her own. By promoting health, confidence, and athletic beauty, she carved out an identity that stood apart from superficial ideals of glamour, offering inspiration to men and women alike. Her rising popularity in the fitness community not only provided validation, but also created a bridge to the world of entertainment. Unbeknownst to her at the time, these early years in fitness were preparing her for a larger stage where strength, charisma, and presence would be just as essential. WWE executives, always on the lookout for personalities who could captivate audiences, soon recognized her potential, and what began as magazine features quickly evolved into the launching pad for a career in professional wrestling that would transform both her life and the industry. The leap into professional wrestling. The late 1990s were a time of transformation for WWE, which was then navigating its highly popular Attitude Era, marked by bold storylines, colorful characters, and a blending of sport with entertainment spectacle. Trish Stratus entered WWE in 2000, initially positioned not as a competitor, but as a valet managing the team of Test and Albert in a faction known as T&A. Her beauty and charisma ensured she was noticed immediately, but for Trish, standing at ringside was never enough. She wanted to wrestle, compete, and prove that women could be more than secondary attractions. Determined to break out of the mold that confined many women during that era, she embraced rigorous training, learning the fundamentals of professional wrestling with humility and relentless effort. She studied under seasoned veterans, took countless bumps, and dedicated herself to understanding the craft of in-ring performance. It was a steep climb in an environment where women's wrestling was often treated as an afterthought, yet Trish's passion for growth and her willingness to endure criticism set her apart. By refusing to accept limitations, she planted the seeds for a career that would ultimately redefine the role of women in wrestling, showing fans that she was not content to simply be present. She intended to compete and excel, rising through the ranks. The early years of Trish's wrestling career were filled with trial, error, and a gradual proving of her abilities. Fans initially saw her as a fitness model turned performer, and critics doubted whether she could rise above the stereotype of eye candy. But Trish approached every opportunity with humility, training after hours, studying tapes of wrestling greats, and slowly refining her timing, psychology, and in-ring fluidity. Her perseverance paid off in 2001 when she captured her first WWE Women's Championship, a moment that symbolized her emergence as more than a supporting act. She was now a legitimate competitor in her own right. This title victory was not the culmination of her efforts, but the start of a long ascent toward credibility and respect. Through injuries, storyline challenges, and skepticism, Trish pushed herself to evolve with every match, delivering performances that began to earn the admiration of even her harshest critics. By the mid-2000s, she had transitioned from a newcomer fighting for respect to one of the most skilled and consistent performers in the women's division, demonstrating that determination and growth could silence doubt and rewrite expectations. A trailblazer for women's wrestling, what truly set Trish apart was her vision to elevate women's wrestling at a time when it was rarely given the spotlight. Alongside peers like Molly Holly, Victoria, and especially Lita, she became a central figure in rivalries that showcased not only athletic ability but also compelling storytelling. Her feud with Lita, in particular, remains one of the most celebrated in WWE history, blending genuine intensity with technical excellence. Their headline match on Monday Night Raw in 2004 marked a turning point, proving that women could captivate audiences in the main event slot, a rarity at the time. These matches did not simply entertain, they challenged stereotypes and redefined what female performers could achieve in a male-dominated industry. Through her work, Trish shifted audience perceptions, showing that women belonged not just as supporting acts but as central figures capable of carrying storylines and delivering show-stealing matches. Her efforts laid the groundwork for what would eventually become known as the women's evolution, inspiring future generations of wrestlers to dream bigger and push further. By setting new standards through her performances, she became not only a star but also a trailblazer who reshaped the very landscape of women's wrestling. Championship glory and accolades. Over the course of her WWE career, Trish Stratus became one of the most decorated female performers of her era, capturing the WWE Women's Championship 7 times, a record that stood for years as a benchmark of excellence. Each reign added to her credibility and further cemented her reputation as the face of women's wrestling in the early 2000s. But beyond the number of titles, it was the way she carried herself as champion that elevated the belt's prestige. She made it a prize worth fighting for, embodying the honor and responsibility that came with it. Her dominance in the division was recognized with accolades such as being named Diva of the Decade, a reflection of her influence and popularity. In 2013, her induction into the WWE Hall of Fame immortalized her contributions, placing her alongside the industry's greatest figures. Even after her retirement, her return appearances, whether at WrestleMania, milestone shows, or at WWE Evolution in 2018, the company's first all-women's pay-per-view, were met with thunderous ovations. demonstrating that her connection with fans remained unbroken. These accolades were not simply trophies of past glory, they symbolized the respect, admiration, and lasting impact she had achieved through her talent, perseverance, and pioneering spirit. Wrestling's physical toll and the search for healing. Behind the curtain of glamour, bright lights, and thunderous applause lay the unspoken reality of professional wrestling, the immense toll it takes on the human body. For Trish Stratus, whose career was defined by intense rivalries and championship moments, that toll was particularly significant. Years of matches, each demanding athleticism, stamina, and fearlessness, left her with a collection of injuries that shaped her journey. Among them was a herniated disc in her back, a condition that caused immense pain and forced her to step away from the ring at various points. She also suffered a dislocated shoulder, endured a broken nose, and faced the everyday wear and tear that comes with constant travel, training, and live performance. Each injury was more than physical. It brought emotional challenges, as time on the sidelines often tested her spirit and raised questions about her future. The back injury, especially, became a pivotal obstacle, threatening to end her career prematurely and demanding months of rehabilitation that required discipline, patience, and courage. Even after her full-time wrestling days were over, the effects of these injuries remained, with chronic pain and mobility issues serving as lasting reminders of the sacrifices she had made. Yet Trish never allowed these struggles to define her legacy. Instead, she sought ways to heal, to adapt, and to create new balance in her life, ultimately discovering a path that not only restored her health, but offered her a new identity outside the ring. For her, wrestling gave fame and recognition, but the journey of healing gave her renewal, peace, and a sense of wholeness she had long been missing. Embracing yoga and reinvention. What began as a rehabilitation tool for her injured back soon blossomed into a life-altering passion when Trish Stratus embraced yoga. Initially introduced to the practice as a way to improve flexibility and rebuild strength, she quickly discovered its transformative power beyond the physical. Yoga became not only a means to heal her body, but a pathway to mental clarity and emotional balance, offering a striking contrast to the frenetic pace and adrenaline-fueled lifestyle of professional wrestling. Trish immersed herself in the practice, training diligently under seasoned instructors, studying the philosophy behind it, and eventually earning her certification as a teacher. Recognizing both the personal benefits and the potential to help others, she decided to open her own yoga studio in Toronto, which she aptly named Stratosphere. The name cleverly nodded to her wrestling persona, while also reflecting the sense of expansion, elevation, and calm she wanted her studio to embody. For Trish, Stratosphere was more than just a business. It became a community space where individuals of all ages and backgrounds could discover strength, healing, and peace. Through teaching, she shared not only physical techniques, but her belief that true wellness is rooted in harmony between body and mind. This reinvention was not about leaving her wrestling career behind, but about building upon it, taking the discipline and resilience she had developed as a competitor and channeling them into a new role as a mentor in holistic health. By embracing yoga, she demonstrated adaptability, resilience, and courage, proving that life after wrestling could be equally impactful, meaningful, and inspiring. Retirement and life beyond wrestling. In 2006, Trish Stratus officially retired from full-time competition, and her farewell could not have been more fitting or symbolic. She chose to bow out on her own terms in front of her hometown crowd in Toronto and capped her career by winning the WWE Women's Championship one final time. It was the perfect ending to a remarkable chapter, one that celebrated not just her victories but her transformation from fitness model to one of the most respected female athletes in wrestling history. Retirement is often a daunting prospect for performers who have lived their lives under the spotlight, but Trish embraced the transition with grace and openness to new possibilities. She expanded her presence into entertainment, appearing on television shows, taking roles in films, and producing fitness DVDs that connected with audiences outside the wrestling fan base. These projects allowed her to share her knowledge, maintain visibility, and reach new audiences while building a career that reflected her personal passions. That same year, she married her longtime partner, Ron Fisico, who had been by her side long before fame. Their marriage provided stability and support, offering a grounding force as she stepped away from the unpredictability of the wrestling world. In 2013, she became a mother with the birth of her son, Maximus, a role she has often described as her proudest accomplishment. Motherhood brought new joy, purpose, and fulfillment, reshaping her priorities while adding yet another dimension to her story of reinvention. Though she had left full-time wrestling, her occasional returns for special matches or milestone events became celebrations of her enduring impact, bridging the gap between her era and the generations that followed. Business ventures and resilience in the public eye. Beyond the wrestling ring, Trish Stratus poured her energy into entrepreneurial ventures that reflected her values of wellness, balance, and empowerment. Her yoga studio was at the heart of this new chapter, but she also explored other projects, from wellness products to media appearances, that allowed her to maintain relevance while building a life rooted in authenticity. Yet, like any public figure and business owner, her ventures attracted scrutiny. Rumors occasionally surfaced about the profitability of her projects, or whispers about financial instability, speculation fueled by the inherent challenges of operating businesses in competitive and sometimes unpredictable markets. Trish herself rarely engaged with such speculation, preferring instead to let her work and presence speak for themselves. What she emphasized consistently was passion, her desire to inspire others and create spaces where health and balance could thrive. These ventures reflected not just her entrepreneurial drive, but her resilience, as she adapted to challenges without letting public narratives overshadow her goals. By continuing to evolve, she reminded fans that success is rarely linear. It requires perseverance, reinvention, and the willingness to weather uncertainty. For Trish, the measure of her ventures was not in headlines, but in the impact they created for the communities she served and the authenticity with which she pursued them. Continuing role in WWE and modern legacy. Even in retirement, Trish Stratus has never truly left WWE. Her relationship with the company remains strong, and she has returned on numerous occasions to participate in milestone events, celebrate anniversaries, and, at times, step back into the ring to remind fans of her enduring talent. These appearances have never been about nostalgia alone. They carry symbolic weight, serving as a bridge between the groundbreaking work she did in the early 2000s and the progress made by the new generation of female superstars. When WWE held its first all-women's pay-per-view, Evolution, in 2018, Trish's presence underscored the continuity of progress, honoring the path she had helped carve while celebrating the strides made by those who followed. Today, at 49 years old, she embodies balance, splitting her time between her family, her yoga and wellness pursuits, and her occasional involvement in WWE. Her presence continues to inspire both fans and younger performers, reminding the world that legends do not simply disappear when they retire. They evolve, mentor, and continue to contribute. In every appearance, Trish reinforces the message that the story of women's wrestling is ongoing, and her role as both a pioneer and a mentor ensures her influence continues to ripple through the industry. Legacy and influence. The legacy of Trish Stratus is one of transformation, perseverance, and empowerment. Entering WWE at a time when women were often sidelined or underappreciated, she worked tirelessly to redefine what female wrestlers could achieve. Her 7 women's championship reigns, Hall of Fame induction in 2013, and countless accolades stand as testaments to her accomplishments. But her true impact lies in the cultural shift she helped initiate. Trish proved that women could be respected athletes, capable of headlining shows, carrying storylines, and inspiring fans with both athleticism and storytelling. She laid the groundwork for the women's evolution of the 2010s with stars like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bayley, all crediting her as an influence and inspiration. Yet her legacy goes beyond titles and influence. It is rooted in authenticity. She's been candid about the physical toll of wrestling, open about the challenges of life after fame, and honest about the balancing act of motherhood, business, and public life. This honesty makes her relatable as well as iconic, ensuring her influence extends beyond wrestling fans to anyone inspired by resilience, reinvention, and authenticity. By showing vulnerability alongside strength, she has left a legacy that is not only about victories, but about humanity. Conclusion. Trish Stratus's journey is a story of resilience, reinvention, and enduring influence, spanning from her early days in Toronto as a fitness enthusiast to her transformation into one of WWE's most celebrated icons and beyond. She endured the physical demands of a punishing profession, confronted the scrutiny of public life, and continually found ways to redefine herself, whether as a businesswoman, a yoga teacher, a mother, or a mentor. Each chapter of her life reflects balance, the ability to thrive in the spotlight while staying grounded in personal authenticity and growth. Today, she stands as more than a Hall of Famer or a wrestling legend. She is a symbol of strength, adaptability, and inspiration. Her story reminds us that true greatness is not measured solely in championships or accolades, but in the courage to embrace change, the persistence to overcome adversity, and the heart to inspire future generations. Trish Stratus remains a beacon of what it means to evolve with grace and purpose, proving that the mark of a legend is not only in what they achieved, but in the lasting legacy they leave behind.